I'm Arda, he's Tyler, and one team that cannot lay claim to that title and will not be world champion this year, Tyler, surprisingly to many, is Mad Lions. My goodness. One of the most surprising results in League of Legends World Championship history occurred today.
They are the second ever major region team alongside Hong Kong Attitude from 7 to not make it through the play-in stage, and they are the first major region team to be eliminated in the play-ins by a wild card region team. This time, it being massive, and yeah, it's a shock. And I know there's some people right now on the internet saying, "I told you so. I never believed in the Mad Lions. Why did they even go there? Oh, we wish Schalke No Fear was there. I wish we would have rather had a Vitality there than Mad Lions. What a bunch of chokers." And it's disheartening. It sucks. It's really, as a North American fan, I know how it feels to have your region and your teams dissected, picked apart, made fun of repeatedly on Reddit, social media, Twitch, YouTube, all around the world, people making fun of your teams, and it sucks. It's a team that had 4 rookies on it who've had 14 games of on-stage experience, and their ace player, Humanoid, is a 2-year player, still a very young, up-and-coming player, is their ace, their anchor, their rock, and he had to face off a team against who was banning almost every single one of his champions. He was getting picked on every single game, and he was still performing to a high level. So we're going to dive into Mad Lions to start the show, but my first thoughts is it's hard. It's really hard looking on social media right now, and there's a lot of good things. Like I'm seeing a lot of people. I saw Parth, who's on TSM, the coach of TSM. He knows a thing or two about fan backlash of not performing to expectations at the stage, and I've seen a lot of good, positive feedback to the Mad Lions. There's always going to be fans who hate on them and say they didn't deserve their spot, but for the most part, like I think most fans and most teams are seeing it as it is. It's an L. It's a big L, and it's a piece of humble pie, and it's kind of a serving of. It doesn't matter if it's not like every LEC team or every LCK or every LPL team can come to Worlds now and just dominate. I think we can put that to rest finally. Is the 7th place LEC team can't just come to Worlds and slap the best Turkish team or a top 3 NA team. Like there's levels to these. Mad Lions, they're rookies. They got beaten up. They got knocked out. They're going to take their lumps, and I think in the long run, this is going to help them.
On our ESPN League of Legends Predictor, which you can join for free at espn.com/League of Legends Predictor, thousands of people are making their picks and battling against their friends and each other. Shout out to Sokori and to PGH, who are 7-1 right now. They are leading the thousands of people that are playing along. You can also find us on the ESPN Fantasy app. Just click on the trophy tab. Make sure to make your picks for tomorrow's Best of 5 series. Don't be like me and completely forget to do that today, because I could have gotten some points. I'm still stuck in the 3,000s somewhere. It's ridiculous. But the reason I bring this up right now is because 82% of people playing in the League of Legends Predictor, Tyler, picked Mad Lions to win Group A, and now they are on the outside looking in.
Not me, Arda. Guess who I picked, Arda? Guess who I picked?
Who did you pick?
I picked Team Liquid.
Of course
I picked the right choice. I'm a big brain. I'm the top 500, Arda. I'm not here down at the plebeians picking Mad Lions and LGD Gaming to win their groups. I'm in the highest tier of intelligence, picking Team Liquid to go on. But let's talk more about Mad Lions. I think that they deserve a big chunk of this episode about. This is a pretty historic falling. Even though I do think there is, I won't say excuses, but there's reasons why they fell this early in the.
So you mentioned Humanoid being targeted. In particular, Game 3, all 5 bans were targeted to Humanoid. He brought out the Cassiopeia, still had a good game with it. But really, this was a good game plan in many of the games by Supermassive. As much as people will want to dunk on this because optically, it's the LEC team getting eliminated by, the TCL who never show up at Worlds and, I've only been to the group stage twice in Worlds history, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This was a really good game plan in many parts by Supermassive and some good individual performances as well. But what did you see from, before we get to Supermassive though, Mad Lions, where did this crumble in your opinion? If you were to look at some of the weak links here, where did this go wrong for them?
I mean, it went wrong the first game and the first few minutes of that game. I mean, let's go back to the opening match of Worlds 2020. It was INTZ versus Mad Lions. And I think the moment everyone remembers is Tay teleporting wrongly onto a minion and wasting his teleport and looking like a fool. But the thing is, in a world where Tay, who's an amazing player and doesn't make that mistake and the nerves doesn't get to him, he kills Shadow, he gets a first blood, and there's a very good chance Mad Lions go 0-4 in the group stage, and they're just straight out the most embarrassing defeat in World's history, possibly, if that one TP play goes wrong. And Shadow had a very weak tournament. He had, statistically, and just from performance-wise, one of the worst tournaments of any player in the play. He looked lost a lot of the time. He looked disjointed. He was very over-eager and over-aggressive and on his ganks. There were so many times he would go to the top lane, including that first gank that almost should have got him killed versus Tay against INTZ, where he just tried to raw muscle a gank to happen. Even if there was no real setup there and there was no real even opening for him to make that gank happen, he tried to force things. And he tried to force these like square pegs through a circle hole, and it just didn't fit. And it just kept pushing at it. And in correspondence to that, Orome also had a very weak tournament. He had one really good set game today, but aside from that, he was outclassed by almost every single top laner he was against. He got solo killed by Impact's Mordekaiser. He got put down against almost every single top laner he played against. So their top side was almost non-existent and almost had no influence over the entire series of games they played. All 10 games they played, the top side of the map almost had zero influence or zero impact to their name, which meant that it had to come down to Humanoid in the bot side. And for the bot side, for a majority of the series, they put Karzi on things like Wukong, and they had the Senna Wukong fasting Senna strategy, which is you already have your top side toothless with no real bite to their game, and now you're making your bot side equally as useless when it comes to having a bit of bite and having a bit of a carry potential, which put all of it on Humanoid. And I applaud Humanoid for how he played. He played amazingly, coming from where he was on Splice last year, where he was kind of the fifth man on Splice, the fourth or fifth man on Splice, kind of always being forgotten, kind of the utility piece on a team of Xerxes and Kabe. But this year he's the ace, and he showed up like an ace. This was like a pure TSM Bjergsen performance where everyone was throwing their bands on him, and he still performs to the best of his abilities. He really played his heart out, and I give him a lot of credit. But let's facts be facts, and I can say all the things about Shadow and Orome and all that, but this meta that what we've seen throughout the entire playing stage is almost all of these games come down to team fighting. Almost every single one of these come around to a sole team fight or an ARAM, where it's 5v5 going down mid lane, and it's coming down to these quick executions and which team is more cohesive than the other. And quite frankly, over the last 5 days of watching these two teams play, Supermassive was just the more cohesive team. Cacao in the jungle matchup, of which General controlled their team better into battle with Hecarim and Lilia. He was out experienced and outperformed Shadow, and Shadow he's a really good mechanically young player, but his champion pool needs to expand. It got picked on a lot during the group stage, and I think this is a good experience for him. He's playing Cacao. Cacao is a legend. He was at Worlds in 2015. He's an OGN champion. He's an original. He's a South Korean MVP back in 2014. Cacao's not going to be surprised by anything, and Cacao played amazing today and was everything that Shadow had, Cacao had it and 10 times more. So while Shadow and Orome were the weak links of the team, and I think some of their drafts were a bit wonky, it really does come down to the team overall just wasn't good enough. Supermassive as a team, as a five-man unit, were better than Mad Lions. This was not a choke. This was not an upset. Supermassive are the better team than Mad Lions.
To tie a bow on the Mad Lions conversation, a lot was made about the fact, just going off the rift for a second here, and how moving away from the meta conversation. This is a young team, and they only won one domestic series, as Jacob Wolf wrote in the article on ESPN.com/esports. They only won one playoff series, and they underperformed at Worlds by many people's expectations. I know that this is a conversation for a little bit later, possibly closer to free agency. But what do you think happens to this team next? To tie a bow on Mad Lions, do you think we'll see changes? Do you think the team will stay the same? Do you think it's too early? This team is young. What are your thoughts immediately right now after this series?
I think it would be foolish to say, let's keep the 5 men together. Let's go run it back. I mean, every team, it doesn't matter if you're, top esports or if you're Mad Lions or if you're the worst team in the LCS, you're always looking to make your team the best it possibly can be. Obviously, in a perfect world, Afari is a free agent. He's the best top laner in Europe. If you could get him, I don't think Mad Lions could. I think there's going to be many teams, not just in Europe, but in North America and around the world gunning for Alfari. But I do think we have not seen the peak of Mad Lions. It would not be the end of the world. It wouldn't be the worst thing possible if these 5 players come back into the LEC next year and play together. It probably would be the best option they have if they can't just break the bank open, right? Obviously, you would love Alfari, you would love every high-end player, but I think running these 5 back, coming into the LEC season where they hopefully can play on stage, maybe fans will come back as the year goes on, and they'll gain that experience. And luckily for them, Worlds 2021, where is it, Arda?
It is also in China, as you reported, Tyler.
It's back in China, so it's a redemption story. They have a chance. I think they come home, and if they come back as 5, they keep the coaching staff, and it's a redemption story next year. They have a goal now. Their goal now is to go back to China and make up for this embarrassing effort. They are too good to fall down like this. Like, I know Karzi's a very prideful person. I interviewed him earlier in the tournament. He felt like they were better than what they showed, and they never showed better than what they did on day one. So I want to see them have that redemption story. I think, obviously, if you get Alfari, if you can get these top-end players, go for it. But more than likely, I think you run it back, you bring them back, you get them the actual stage experience they need, and hopefully next time around, if they make it to Worlds 2021, they can have a better Chinese showing.